Hello and welcome to the first episode of season 2023 down in the change rooms of the final Siren. You're joined by Duck and Oz of the Purple Rain. Well, Oz, mate, what an absolute heartbreaker, heart-stopper, heart-starter, mate. The Fremantle Dockers losing 10-12, 72 to the North Melbourne Kangaroos, 11-7, 73 in an absolute nail-biter, mate. In the end, look, the Dockers managed to kick 3 goals in about 4 minutes of real time. Jaeger O'Meara leading the way, and could he be the forward that we're maybe looking for, with 2 really good goals. Brennan Cox moving forward, kicking a goal, and then just those last 2 couple of efforts where we just couldn't get the ball over the line to secure a draw. But you know, like, I think going for the win is probably something a little bit different, rolling the dice there, and, you know, that very last bit where the siren goes, what's going on? Did the ball go in? Did the ball stay out? When did the siren go? What's going on? And, mate, it couldn't be a Freo Dockers game without a bit of drama, could it?
Don't break my heart, mate. You break your heart, Duck. Probably the last 5 minutes, the most exciting throughout the game, and certainly some dockery moments early on, certainly with the review with our first goal, and then towards the end when we couldn't hear the siren, and, you know, was the ball rushed out? We don't know. We couldn't hear the siren. You know, the crowd were up and about. And shout out to the 40,487, Duck, as you obviously were alluding to there. And I think at the end of the day, as much as you can talk about what didn't go right, you have to give credit to the Kangaroos for playing a good brand of footy that knocked us around a little bit. And, you know, we came close at the end, and credit to the boys for hanging in there, because one of the things I was thinking about was, well, you know, really got to dig deep, especially that last goal to spread it out for the Kangas. And I thought you could really just, you know, pick up stumps and walk home, but no, the boys dug deep, and Jolo moved the magnets around, and it nearly paid off right at the end.
And look, James Aish rolls into the guts, gets a couple of clearances. There's some real high, tense moments, which were really, really exciting, mate. But in the end, I guess it was just, you know, the fact that we got killed at the clearances. We got killed at the coalface, mate. You know, 15 hit-outs plus, but negative 13 clearances. I think at one stage they won 18 of 16 clearances.
Yes.
You know, we plus 7 inside 50. So, you know, the midfield's going to work. The ruckmen are doing their job, but we've just got to find that connection. I think that slow ball movement, it's just frustrating the boys forward of the ball, and then because of that, it creates a stagnant forward line, you know. So it's a really tough one, and we want to see, as fans, we want to see that free-flowing ball movement, that you know, take a risk, see how it goes. And no doubt J-Lo's saying the same thing, but it's kind of like it becomes a circle within a circle, you know, like the boys second-guess themselves, and then that creates a little slowdown of play. Then that person who's there is not there, and they're covered. So this game of AFL, as we've just seen, it is a game of inches. It's a game of, you know, 1% and 2% across the board, and every single player contributing and rising or falling 1 or 2%. I know the boys are going to be disappointed from this loss. I know they would have been disappointed from last week's loss as well, but it's a lot about how do we bounce back? What is our character? How are we as young men? You know, what is J-Lo going to instill in these boys? Because this is something that we need to learn and grow from, because the weight of expectations is sometimes the greatest weight that we face, mate. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, personally, I think this expectation that we're just going to roll up and win, this expectation that, you know, there's not 22 blokes on the other side that are willing to, you know, pretty much die for their team, mate. You know, get out there and absolutely fight and scrap and tooth and nail. The other thing as well, mate, we've actually come across 2 really, you know, probably the 2 best coaches in the competition.
Yeah.
In Ross Lyon and Alistair Clark.
So I was just about to say that, Duck. I think we don't want to take away the, you know, I guess, credit to Clarkson and to Ross in the past 2 weeks for having a very strong game plan and executing that game plan. Just going back a little bit with some of the things that you were mentioning, I think for me, you know, it was almost the urgency that had to come about with those small forwards and putting the pressure on and so forth. That's when we really started to open the game up, and I felt that was, you know, when we had to. And I thought, you know, with a little bit more dare, as you mentioned, a little bit more willingness to take the game on earlier, you know, might make it easier for us down the track, who knows.
Yeah. And if you think about last year and you put it in perspective, last year we lost to Saints, we beat Adelaide by a Heath Chapman fist, you know, like that. They were the differences there. tonight we lose by a point, we get beaten by St Kilda the week before. So there's little differences there, but again, it's that expectation. I think last year we had no expectations. We might finish bottom of the 8, we might do this, we might do that, but there was a lot of guys that didn't have many expectations on top of them, and they were able to play with that freedom, and that I guess that pressure wasn't there.
Would you say that maybe the last 5 minutes, when almost it was this is just an all or nothing, and we just, whatever happens, it was almost that freedom to play without any consequences, essentially, that we looked the most dangerous.
Yeah.
And one of those things that, again, going back to what this team can actually provide and what it can produce, we've got the talent, we've got the passion, we've got the players that week in, week out, they're putting in the time. We know that it's there, and for fans, we also know that it's there, but just hasn't been able to translate into results. But then you just see glimpses of it, and that's, as a fan, you like that. It draws you back to the game, draws you back to wanting to watch them, and so forth. And as a supporter of the Fremantle Football Club, you ride the business cycle, mate, the peaks and the troughs. But I think from here on in, we really want to see that upward trend, mate.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of a blueprint that we saw towards the end of that game there, mate. I think there's a bit of a blueprint there to how we go moving forward.
Yeah, and we've seen what clubs are doing at the moment that are in that top 4. It's that helter-skelter footy. It's get it forward. It's let our forwards go to work. Our tackles inside 50s are amazing.
Yeah,
the last
they're
2
great.
games, we've been able to lock it in, but we've got to get it in there quicker. We've got to give our forwards an opportunity to score and be one-on-one, because I tell you what, your forward craft's not much chop if you've got 15, 20 blokes in the forward 50.
Yeah.
So it becomes a difficult thing. So I would love for J-Lo to, I guess, say to the boys, hey, let's release the shackles. Let's try and unburden ourselves. Let's really just try and break free of everything that's expected of us and everything that we've built up internally, within ourselves personally, and maybe what we've heard externally.
Yep.
And let's just play like we did last year, and let's even chuck some dare on top of that. Because we can see when you throw caution to the wind in this game, what usually happens, it usually come out a winner.
Yeah,
and as soon as North Melbourne went back into their shell, geez, I tell you what, we got right on top.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's what happens,
100%.
mate. Like you've got to come here, and you've got to, especially at Optus, we've got to be coming here, and we've got to be getting that crowd up and about, and getting everything rolling, and starting off really strong. And I hope that's what we do next week against the Eagles in the Derby as well, mate.
Look, I hope so too. Before I forget, Duck, a quick shout out to Sonny Walters. He came on and really, changed things up and gave us some real purpose going forward. I thought, could he be the guy, and almost was the guy that pinched the game right at the end. So, a great little cameo towards the end there. So, shout out to Sonny for coming back and being the super sub almost.
Yeah, and it was that spark that we really needed as well. I think we're joined here by Jaeger OMeara. Jaeger, lovely to meet you, Duck.
Duck, nice to meet you.
Oz.
How you going,
Oz.
mate? How you going?
Mate, talk us through that game there. You nearly won it off your own boot yourself, mate, but how are you feeling after that one?
Pretty flat, as you can imagine. We didn't get ourselves in a good enough position, left it too late, and we got smashed around the contest, so not too happy, unfortunately.
We were just talking before about the idea of that last 5 minutes where there's really this push and that play on, that sense of just all rolling the dice, whatever happens sort of happens, and that freedom just really opened things up. Did you get that sense yourself, or was it more that North perhaps went into their shell a little bit? How did you feel it was going out there?
I think we obviously needed to try and win the game, so take a bit more risk, but we'd like to try and play like that from the first bounce, not just leave it to the last 5 minutes. We got reactive at stoppage because they were getting some stoppage dominance. They were winning ground balls, which is our go. We pride ourselves on our team defence as well. Weren't good enough there, so we got a bit to fix up. We're only 2 rounds in, so there's a lot of footy to be played in the year. So we'll lick our wounds for the next 24 hours and then hopefully turn around.
Yep.
Mentally, mate, just you obviously weren't within the group last year, so a little bit of an external looking in and things like that. How have you found expectations from last week and this week? Are you coming to the game on game day and the boys are like, "Yep, we've got this"? Is it that idea that maybe, we're expected to win, so that internal expectation and the external expectations causing a little bit of, I guess, internal pressure on the boys?
Perhaps I think we go into every week and expect to win, and I think if you're not doing that, then you're in the wrong game or in the wrong. You shouldn't be playing sport. Yes, so we're doing that. There is an expectation there. We've addressed it. Perhaps we have been going into our shells a little bit, but all we can do is train as hard as we possibly can, work on our mental game, which we're doing, and try and turn it around.
Yeah, and look, mate, you talked about it before, especially that real push towards the end. There's some real positives to come out of that, and I'm assuming J-Lo touched on that, like that idea of just drawing from those positives, have a great week on the track, and then next week's our week.
I think so. We've got to get back to what we do well, which we haven't done well the last couple of weeks, which is our contest and our team defence. Our game stems from that. It's been drilled in since I got here. And we just haven't been able to get it done, especially in the midfield. I think Sean won hit-outs again tonight, and we weren't able to get it done at ground level. So we've certainly got some work to do there, which we'll do. We'll get into that, but yeah, it's really frustrating. But it's not the end of the world. There's still a lot of footy to be played. So hopefully the Freo faithful stick with us.
Now, as a midfielder, mate, you've got Sean Darcy, the big hodor. You've got Luke Jackson, their big dogger. What's it like being a follower next to those two guys? Because they're completely different ruckmen.
Yeah, it certainly brings a different dynamic to our ruck division. Both really good ruckmen. Obviously, Big Dogger brings a bit of a different dynamic in terms of his athleticism. Sean's a big boy, uses his body really well. He's been a really good ruckman for a number of years. I'm personally still learning their touch and how they hit the ball and where they like to put it, how they like to use their body. But yeah, they're exciting players to play with.
I love the growth mindset, by the way, always learning, that's fantastic. But obviously, being the experienced player coming in, have you found that start to Fremantle? I mean, obviously, results aside, have you found fitting in with the group, and have you found like how Freo's embraced you?
I've loved it. I've loved every minute of it. It's been awesome. It's a great club. They've built a really strong culture over the last few years. Led by JL, and Bob Murphy's been doing some really good stuff in that space as well, but the players have all bought into that, and if they continue to keep buying in, then we'll get some good results.
And I noticed you played last week with a strap knee, but you went down with an ankle injury at training the other week.
Yeah.
How's your body feeling at the moment?
Yeah, all good. That was my first sort of insight into WA media, because I rolled my ankle in the first drill of training and then got strapped. Assuming that the media left, and then I finished the rest of the session and went to buy a coffee the next day, and I was back page saying I was in doubt for round one. So that was my first little taste of that. But yeah, my body's feeling really good. I strap my knee weekly, I strap my ankles weekly, so that's nothing new.
Now, straight into the leadership group, mate. How has that made you feel? That's a pretty awesome thing. I know you've come across from Hawthorn, you've played a lot of games and things like that, but personally, how did that make you feel that the boys have welcomed you in and you're just straight into the leadership group?
It's a honour. Only been here for a short amount of time. I've just tried to be myself. I've tried to get to know the guys as quickly as possible. I've obviously shifted clubs a couple of times now, and one thing I did learn when I left the Suns and moved to Hawthorn is the quicker you get to know your teammates, the better you gel on the field. So I've made a really considered effort to try and do that off the field. And I think, the boys have backed me in and put me in the leadership group stemming from that.
Jaeger, thank you very much for joining us, mate, once again. And look, a really tough loss, but bounce back next week in the Derby.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. Cheers. Thanks, Jaeger. All right, thank you to Jaeger O'Meara for joining us. I called him bloody Jaeger twice, mate. How good am I, mate? Too many Jaeger bombs back in the day, mate.
We're back in the room.
We're back into it, mate. There's a lot of stuff going on. This light is causing me to sweat absolute bullets, mate. Hopefully everyone's listening on the podcast.
Yeah.
Mate, you've got the Macho Man shirt on.
Yes. yes.
Get around that. But guys, thank you very much for listening, watching, whatever you're doing. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review. Look, another tough loss, backing on from last week, but we've got the Derby coming up next round. Hopefully we can have all, 40, 50, 60,000 fans there, really showing their love for the Dockers and cheering us on. And just come back on, support the purple. We keep going again. We've got to learn from expectations. We've got to learn from, this young team that's still coming through. And hopefully we can get some W's on the board and really repay the faithful and repay the hard work that the boys are doing. Because they're not putting in the hard work. They're,
100%.
They're really working hard.
I think one of the things to remember, you don't win a premiership after 2 games. We're still in this. There's heaps of opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, mate, you never know next week.
Last time I checked, no premierships in March.
Oh, there you go.
Plenty of Sheffield Shields, mate.
Oh,
Shout out WH.
yes.
Wrap it up tomorrow. Thank you guys for listening. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review. Remember, we're Purple Rain. We're at Purple Rain 95, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We do a show every Monday and every Thursday, previewing the games coming up. And make sure you subscribe on the YouTube channel. I reckon it's just down here. There's like a little bell. I've watched some YouTube. I know how to do it. Bell and click. Make sure you get around that.
Beautiful.
And get around all the stuff that the Fremantle media team are creating for us. All right. Go Dockers.